Whenever we talk about belt and deck wear, we have to inspect a walking belt and deck to make sure it's worn. One of the first things I do if I walk into a fitness center, this is the fitness center here at Treadmill Doctor, but if I were to walk in, if this were to be somewhere else and it were to be a service call and they wanted an evaluation for maybe preventive maintenance or something, I would, first thing I would want to do is stand on the treadmill and walk the walking belt manually like this. And I've done this in other videos to where, and I just call this a dead walk, okay? Other people have different names for it, but it was very easy for me to stand on that walking belt, push off and walk it like a manual treadmill, okay? So if it was easy for me, that means it's easy for the drive motor and drive system to push a user down the treadmill. Now the problem you run into is when these belts and decks are not well maintained or they're extremely old or dirty, they will not move that freely. And you can literally stand up here and push and that belt will not move, okay? And if you're having a hard time getting that belt to break away initially, you've got an issue. So once that starts, it's kind of a spiral to where, the belt builds up friction, it starts to affect the phenolic material on the deck, and you have this very fast degrading of the walking belt and deck. So just in order to inspect it, if you wanted to do it, a very, I would say, thorough way, you could undo the tension on the roller adjustment bolts to really see underneath this belt. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the tension on here, and I'm just going to lift it up and put my hand underneath here, and I'm going to feel around. What I'm feeling for are grooves and marks, anything I can feel with my hand that would tip me off that there is some sort of scarring on that deck. Because if there is, then that means the phenolic coating is off in those places, and once it starts to come off, it continues to come off faster and faster. So those two things, feeling the belt and deck and then doing that dead walk test, is a great way to inspect your belt and deck without actually taking the machine apart and looking at the deck, or taking the rear roller out and getting a flashlight, feeling underneath there. Your deck should be very smooth, and if you're lubricating your treadmill, it should feel slightly greasy, kind of like a lightly greased cookie sheet before you were going to do, make some cookies or something. So it should have that little bit of slickness, a little bit of greasiness to it if you're looping it. Thanks.